A business case is about the future, and given that, there is a fair amount of risk and uncertainty that gets injected into the business case. After all, it's impossible to know what's going to happen next with any level of certainty. We're going to talk about the concepts of risk and uncertainty in the context of a business case and what you can do about them. First of all, risk and uncertainty are two sides of the same coin. It's a little nuanced difference, but a difference nonetheless. A risk is the chance of injury or loss. So if you live in a floodplain, you have a risk of actually having your house flooded. If you install routers have a risk of failing. If you develop software, there's likely going to be some sort of bugs or errors in the software application that you develop. There's always a chance that there's going to be injury or loss in any human endeavor. Uncertainty is a little different. Uncertainty is the indefiniteness of an outcome. And you can think of this in the terms of what you did when you provided your estimates of both your benefits and your costs. You made certain assumptions. Well, what if those assumptions aren't exactly right? Again, you're making assumptions about things that are going to happen in the future. It's impossible to know with any level of assuredness that what you think is going to happen is in fact going to happen. So then, if we think about this, risk is the chance of injury or loss. Uncertainty is the indefiniteness of outcomes or the indefiniteness of the estimates that you made. And after all, as we talked about way back in our discussion of trends, there is the concept of the black swan. Major events that are unpredictable, that are massive in impact, and that after the fact we develop a sense of why we should have known that that thing was going to happen. Well, random events, in fact, do happen. In any business case, as Dilbert found out, the people to whom you present are going to be more than happy to point out all the possible black swans or all the possible sources of risks and uncertainty that may in fact occur. But we are not powerless in the face of risk and uncertainty. We can do analysis. And from this point forward, when I'm going to essentially use the term risk to embody both risk and uncertainty. But what we can do is we can identify the sources of risk through a tool called the Failure Modes Effect Analysis, FMEA. It's a tool that structures our thinking about risk and how to evaluate risk and then what to do about it. And we're going to go into much greater detail in terms of the FMEA in a later lesson. At its basic level, what the Failure Modes Effective Analysis does is it identifies the risk, identifies the thing that can fail in terms of both the severity of the failure, the likelihood that that item will fail or the likelihood that the risk will occur, and then our ability to detect it once it does. And again, we'll go through this process in great detail. But what we can do is we can use the FMEA to identify the risks. And then we need to make a call whether or not that risk is controllable. Is it something we can do something about? If it is, then we continue on the FMEA analysis and develop a mitigation plan so that we can avoid the risks, or if they do occur, lessen their impact. If they're not controllable, then we need to create a hedge. And we'll use a tool called the sensitivity analysis in order to do that. And what a sensitivity analysis does, it takes a look at what could occur across the range of possible outcomes and builds a hedge in terms of both your benefits and your costs. And what that might mean is that it may reduce some of your expected benefits and increase some of your expected cost in such a way that it accounts for what could happen and then evaluates whether or not across those range of possible outcomes, the strategic initiative still has the positive return on investment that you're looking for. So this is a brief introduction into risk analysis. We're going to pick up our discussion with both a detailed discussion of the failure modes, effect analysis, and the sensitivity analysis, how to actually analyze and deal with risk and uncertainty.